So what we want to be able to do is that, notice that right now we have that the websites, these two websites know that their parent is Po, right? You have the users here. There it is. They both reference this user. But the user has no clue that it has these two websites, right? Whether it should know or not, again, depends on the use case, right? But we're going to do the implementation only for practice. Yes?
Just to clarify that, for the homework, it is required.
Yeah, right. Implement what we're about to do in a minute. But in the query, this query right here of web services, find websites for user, you could do it both ways. You could implement it in both ways. Either like this, find and do the query like that, or you can implement it in some other way, right? But I'll leave that up to you. But the insertion of both knowing about each other, that's required. Okay, so I'll do it for you for the users, and you'll do it for websites and pages. Yes. All right. So here's actually where we could do it. Notice that when we create the website, we are creating the relationship of the website and the developer right here, right here. Right here, the website points to the parent website, but the user does not know anything about it. Right? We could, before leaving here, actually do that update right here, right after we create the website, and know the ID. Notice that we don't know the ID of the website, right? Because we haven't inserted it yet, correct? But now that it has been inserted, we could go ahead and implement that right here. What we could do is that before doing that return, we could handle the then right here. Right, in this function, we could see the website documents right there. Yes? This is my website document. Okay? Including that website document has the ID that it was just inserted. Correct? Right? So it'd be nice if I had the user model right here. It'd be nice if I had it. And I could possibly do something like add website. It'd be nice if I could do that. Right? And I could just pass the website right there as an object. And that's the whole object, right? Now, probably the website, the only real thing that I need in that array, again, it depends whether you're implementing the embedded schema implementation or you're only keeping track of the IDs of the websites. It depends what you would pass here. You could pass the entire object, or you could just pass maybe just the ID. That's all you really need. Okay. In any case, this doesn't exist, right? This doesn't exist. Again, this is another example of designing from top down. I wish there were an API that does this, and now we can go on and implement it. Yes? Right? All right, so let's do that. Let's implement that in the user model. First of all, I don't have the user model here. I don't have it, but that's okay, because the user model is implemented in the same directory, and I can just load it. I can say var user model. I can just require it. Not only can the service require it, I can require it. Anybody can require the user model, right, and have access to it. Right, so it's in the same directory, and there it is, user model. So now that I required it, notice that I have this instance of this user model, right? Because that's what I'm exporting. See that? That's what I'm exporting. So I have access to any function I declare in here. In particular, this new function that doesn't yet exist, add website. So this add website, I'm going to add it to the API of the user model. Right? And the implementation will be to modify the array of websites. Right now we have, there it is, that array. That array, right, is going to include, right, the IDs of the websites that belong to me. Yes? So let's do that. Here is the function, add website. And it's taking, again, depending on your implementation. Right? In this case, it's the array of references. right? In an embedded schema, it would be an array of actual website instances, right? And we'll play with that a little later. So here I have website IDs. I know this is an ID that I'm receiving. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the user model. I'm going to update the user because presumably this user exists, right? Now update what? Well, I need to know which user to update. So I'll need that also here. I'll need that also as part of the arguments here. I'll need to know the developer ID. Right, so in my arguments, when I call this, I'll also need the developer ID. I just realized this, right, as I'm designing this, that I need both the parent and I need the child. I need the IDs of both of them. Okay. And now that I have the developer ID, I can say that I am going to update the user whose ID matches the developer ID. What am I going to do? I'm going to update the array. Okay. There's a couple ways to do this. One of the ways is to receive the user as a. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have the user object just yet. Actually, let me do it this way. User model. We can retrieve the user, find the user by ID, find the user by ID. Actually, we have a function that does that, don't it? Don't we have it here? Find user by ID, which is just this find by ID here. We could just use the raw find by ID and pass in the developer ID. Right, once we have the developer ID, that means that here we have the actual user object. There it is. Now that we have a user object, we can at the website object, the websites object, that's the array, right, in the schema. It's this website, it's right here. It's this array. Right, what are we going to do with it? We're going to push onto that array the ID of the website ID, right, that we want to add to the user. There it is, right? So I retrieve from the database the user object. I update it, right, making changes to it. Now it has only been modified in RAM, right, in the server's array, in the server's memory, right? It hasn't been actually updating the database just yet, right? So now we have manipulated here in the server. We have to put it back and save it back into the database. Right? We modify it here. Now we're going to make it permanent. To do that, there's a function called save. Save will go back and write this back into the database. Okay. And this will have its own promise. Right? It will return its own promise. And we're going to bubble up that promise to this whole thing. This return will return the innermost promise, right, in this sequence of queries. Oops. Save. Right. So this goes back to the website model. Here's the website model. This was the entire call here. Right. So this whole thing is returning a promise. Right, is returning a promise, and we're just going to return the whole thing and bubble that up to this return. Okay. All right, so let's try it. Let's see if this blows up. Let's restart the server, and let's go back to Poe. Here's Poe, and let's create yet another one. LinkedIn. Create. Right, so as far as the websites are concerned, they think that there's 3 websites associated to that one user. If we go back to the database, indeed there are 3, and they all have the same parent of Poe. But if you list the users, notice that now Poe knows about that one single website that we just added. See that? It doesn't know about the other two because we didn't have the code to create the relationships before this. Okay? But if we create yet another one, it would be listed under this array. And notice that this C902C, right? This one right here matches the new LinkedIn website that we just created. See that? Right? So now we have two-way links, right? The parent has an array of all the children, and the children have arrays. Have pointers back to the parent. Make sense? Everybody okay? All right. Yes.
So for in a user model, or sorry, not user model, website model, so create website for user originally passes back the website that you created, correct? Like return.
Yes.
So should you return that instead of?
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good. If we look at the inspect, if we inspect this and put this on the right hand side, and we go, we look at the network. When we create this, and we create, say, let me clear this, Wikipedia. We say create. Notice that what comes back here is the user. See that? We would have expected that it would come back the latest website we just created. Notice that we don't really care because whatever comes back, we're not using it. Right? We're immediately navigating away and asking for the list of websites right away. See that? So this response back, it's not used, but it's a well taken point, right? That we would have expected that we just created a website. We would have expected the callback to come back with a website, yes, instead of the user. The reason we're getting the user back is because of the promise. Notice that when we create the website, the last thing we do here is call add website. See that? When we go to add website, notice that the very last thing that we do is to save the user. See that? So this is returning the updated user. Right? Notice that indeed the updated user contains the array of websites. See that? Right? With the website we just added, that we just saved in the database. So that bubbles up to this promise here. That bubbles up to this promise here. Goes back up here. Goes back to the service in the create website. And what we get in this then here is the user, not the website document. See that? It's a very, very, very good observation. So to change this so that it works as expected, let's go back to the website model and add the website. And here's the user save, right? What we could do to make it behave the way we would have expected is that we need the actual website that we just created. Wait a minute. Where do we create the website? Website user model in the website model, right here. All right. So this is going to return. Right. So notice that this return over here is the add website right here. See that? It's adding the website, and we would have expected that what comes back out of here is the brand new website we just created. This website doc. This is what we would have expected. Yes. Okay. So let's fix this. So to fix this is what we're going to do is that instead of bubbling this promise up, right, and having the service handle it and send the wrong thing, what we're going to do is that we're going to handle it ourselves. We're going to handle it ourselves. Okay. We know that this is going to come back with a user document, right? Okay. So we're going to handle that promise. Instead, what we want to return is this website document object. But notice that it's in the wrong scope, right? It's in this scope. It's not available to us inside of this scope. Yes? That's okay. What we could do is store it in a local variable, website temp, say. Okay? And here, store it website doc, store it, and then here we can do a return of website temp. Okay, now the promise is going to return the object that we want. Let's try it out. Let's restart the server. So what we're looking for is that we just created the website, and what we were getting is the user. Instead, what we were expecting is the brand new website we just created. Okay, so let's try that. Let's go back here. Let's clear this out, and let's create Amazon. So create. Again, it goes out. Notice that indeed now we get back the website object that we were expecting. Yes? So again, a little bit of handling ourselves of the promises at the right time, right, allows us to return exactly what we want, right? Okay? And you might want to look at that a little later at on your own and practice it before perhaps sinks in. Right. So we were able to add from both sides. Let's now take a look at being able to update and remove and do all the other relationships. Okay, let's do that next.